It's all about the money now.
Before we start, if you're interested in the psychology of money, the real forces shaping American households, and how to build actual freedom in this economy, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I break down complex financial realities into strategies you can actually use. Hit subscribe, and let's get into it. There's a sentence almost everyone in America has whispered to themselves at some point. Everything will be all right when I earn more. It sounds rational, responsible, ambitious, but for millions of high-income earners, it quietly turns into a trap. The raise comes, the promotion comes, the six-figure salary arrives, and for a brief moment, there's relief. Dopamine, validation. Then something strange happens. The sense of relief wanes. The improvements in living become commonplace. Additionally, the strain on finances increases as income does. Today, we'll examine the psychological, structural, and economic factors that contribute to it, as well as how you might restructure your financial situation so that your income serves as a weapon for freedom rather than a cage you must continually keep up. First, let's discuss the brain. Humans are not designed to be satisfied all the time. Our brains are designed to adapt. In behavioral science, hedonic adaptation, also known as the hedonic treadmill, is a notion. It clarifies why lottery winners eventually revert to their prior state of satisfaction. It explains why, for a while, people who receive significant promotions feel fantastic. The new reality then becomes the standard. And first spike occurs in your brain when your income rises. You have a sense of accomplishment. Able. Forward. However, that increased income ceases to feel like a prize and instead becomes the new normal in a matter of months or even weeks. The newly renovated apartment is now just home. The expensive vehicle turns into just my car. Where I live is the superior neighborhood. The risky element is that when your baseline increases, so do your fixed costs. The way of life that was formerly considered a luxury turns into the norm. Losing it seems like failure once it becomes the bare minimum. The gap in satisfaction manifests here. Research on happiness and income reveals some intriguing findings. Up to a certain extent, emotional well-being rises with income. The rise in everyday happiness reaches a plateau after the necessities of security and comfort are met. Why? Because your brain's emotional system reacts to change rather than to constant circumstances. Only when it's new does a bigger paycheck feel nice. It no longer elicits the same emotional response after stabilizing. The finish line continues to move as a result. I'll unwind once I reach $100,000. You convince yourself. When I hit $150,000 is the next step. When I get to $250,000 follows. The figure fluctuates. Anxiety doesn't. Add another layer now, societal comparison. Absolute income is rarely the key to financial satisfaction. Relative income is at issue. You want more than just wealth. Your goal is to surpass your peer group in wealth. You feel superior if your classmates make $60,000 and you make $100,000. Even though your spending power doubled, you can feel left behind if your peers earn $400,000 and you make $200,000. People would prefer to make $50,000 while others make $25,000. This is in contrast to earning $100,000 while others make $200,000. It has nothing to do with money. That has to do with rank. Additionally, social media has become a scoreboard that is available around the clock in 2026. You no longer make comparisons between your neighborhood and yourself. A well-prepared worldwide highlight reel is what you're comparing yourself to. Luxurious getaways. Investments pay off. Startups shut down. Lives of designers. Almost half of Gen Z and millennials in particular said that viewing other people's financial posts online makes them feel worse about their own financial status. The local comparison field has been extended to the planetary one. Even those who make six figures feel behind. Let's now discuss structural pressure, which is the non-psychological component. The price of stability markers has skyrocketed in recent decades. Accommodation, medical care, instruction. In comparison to the 1980s, the median home price-to-income ratio in the United States has significantly increased. It is significantly more severe in large cities. This implies that a higher proportion of income is used to maintain the same degree of home stability. The absolute cost of entering the home market has decoupled from wage growth, despite interest rates being lower than they were in the 1980s. Interpretation? People with high incomes are frequently house poor. They appear to be well off. Their cash flow, however, is locked. The expense of education has increased. Inflation in tuition has surpassed inflation in general. Despite nominal income increases, healthcare expenditures have been rising significantly. The silent threat is as follows. After accounting for inflation and benefit expenses, real pay growth is much lower than what the headlines indicate. Therefore, in order to remain in the same location, even those with higher incomes are running faster. Here, we come across a bunch of people called Henrys. High earners. Not quite wealthy. Surprisingly, a large portion of households with incomes over $100,000 report barely making ends meet. That does not necessarily imply that there is no money in the bank. It frequently indicates that fixed expenses like mortgage, tuition, insurance, auto payments, subscriptions, and taxes take up 90 to 95% of income. They are only stable under certain conditions. Everything functions as long as the paycheck is received. However, the entire structure becomes vulnerable with just one disruption, a layoff, a health issue, or a slump in the business. Let's now incorporate lifestyle anchoring as an additional layer. When you initially move into a posh neighborhood, that becomes your benchmark. When you send your children to prestigious schools for the first time, it becomes the norm. When you purchase luxury goods for the first time, it becomes normal. Anchoring bias is what's happening here. It is also closely related to identity. You don't simply make more money. You start making more money. It no longer seems like a financial choice to downsize. I feel like I've regressed personally. It doesn't seem sensible to live in a smaller home. It seems like a failure. It doesn't feel efficient to drive a small vehicle. It is similar to losing one's standing. I refer to this as identity inflation. Your earnings increase. Along with it, your ego develops. Additionally, flexibility decreases. Flexibility is necessary for true prosperity. However, ego opposes adaptability because it views a decline in status as a danger to oneself. Let's now discuss AI, the contemporary wild card. Automation used to target manual labor. AI is currently appending high-paying, white-collar jobs. Developers of software, analyzers of finances, assistants in law, professionals in investments. Despite the creation of new roles, studies predict that millions of existing roles will be replaced in the upcoming years. The catch? It takes time to reskill, and there are actual drops in revenue during transitions. High earners frequently have strict, long-term spending plans, such as 30-year mortgages, expensive tuition, and overhead costs for their lifestyle. However, the volatility of their revenue potential is increasing. Fragility is the result of both flexible income and rigid expenses. The as long as issue is this. As long as I keep getting bonuses. As long as my sector remains robust. As long as I stay healthy. As long as my sector is not disrupted. Freedom isn't that. Conditional stability is what that is. Additionally, downscaling is quite difficult mentally. The failure life trap is a concept that is described in schema therapy. If you were raised with great expectations, financial decline may seem like a public affirmation of your insufficiency. Thus, rather than cutting costs, people focus more on their image. Sustaining high status necessitates ongoing impression control. That is a mental drain. Impulsive spending is more likely when under stress because of ego depletion. It turns into a vicious loop. You spend money to stay in your position. The expenditure puts more strain on things. Clarity is diminished by the pressure. Poorer financial decisions result from a lack of clarity. What is the other option then? Redesign. Visible wealth is giving way to invisible optionality. Optionality is the ability to act, but not the duty to do so. That translates to the capacity to leave a hazardous workplace in personal finance, the capacity to change industries, the capacity to take a break, the capacity to refuse. What you can afford when your salary is at its highest is not true wealth. It's what you can withstand when things are unstable. Two financial frameworks exist. Negative optionality, infinite downside, capped upside, large fixed costs, large debt, and a steady salary. Collapse risk is severe if income ceases. Positive optionality, disproportionate upside and low downside. Low fixed costs, investments that profit from volatility, and liquid savings. In unpredictable circumstances, there is more option, and we are all one. For high incomes in affluent places, The traditional 50/30/20 budget rule frequently fails since needs devour excessive amounts of money. A paradigm that emphasizes flexibility moves rapidly in the direction of increasing margin, reduced fixed expenses, increased liquidity, more flexibility. The order is important. Create a beginning emergency fund. Record retirement matches made by employers. Get rid of debt with hefty interest rates. Increase to a complete emergency supply. After that, accumulate liquid assets outside of retirement funds to provide you more time before you become 59. Additionally, an intriguing development is taking place in culture. The term quiet luxury or stealth wealth is becoming more popular. Performative consumption is rejected. The appearance of stealth wealth is dependable paid-off vehicles, modest-looking residences in upscale neighborhoods, little exposure on social media, high rates of savings, low visibility of the logo, high liquidity. It puts lifespan ahead of signaling. Ignoring the Joneses is one of the quiet money habits. Preventing lifestyle creep. Investing through automation. Spending heavily only on things that truly make you happy. Not using debt as a tool for image, but rather as a trap. Rejecting ambition is not the point. The goal is to balance autonomy with ambition. The idea that security is created solely by income is the largest fallacy in contemporary finance. Dependency results from income that lacks structural resilience. Freedom is produced by income with low fixed costs and large liquidity. The true change is a psychological one. Rather than inquiring, how much can I afford? How much control do I have? Ask. Your entire relationship with money changes when you feel even a little bit of freedom to refuse anything without fear. Visibility is no longer the goal of wealth. It becomes a matter of independence. Money is a tool. Whether that tool creates a jail or a route to liberation depends on your structure. Subscribe to the channel if this viewpoint made you reevaluate your financial beliefs. Like the video if it gave you clarity. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next breakdown. And share it with someone who earns well, but still feels financially trapped. Because earning more isn't the answer. Designing better is.